Creativity in Gastronomic Activities. I am Paula Tarrasconi, a food engineer and master in creative industry. This work was published in the International Journal of Gastronomy and Food Science. Besides me, as an author, we have Vania Giselle Bessi, Simone, and Thierry Wax. Apart,
this work is related. It was done in my master's dissertation in creative industry.
The creative industry uses creativity, skills, talents, and knowledge, the individual's intangible values, to generate tangible values through products and services that create wealth and jobs. Within the creative industry, gastronomy is in the cultural manifestation axis because it is through food that we bring traditions and inherit customs. For various authors in the field, the main ones in the study of creativity, to understand creativity, a systemic approach is important where it analyzes the intrinsic factors of the individual and the extrinsic factors of the environment where they are. Our research problem was how the individual creative skills of gastronomy professionals relate to the work environment in the food service industry. Our main objective is to analyze the relationships between the creativity of the individual, a graduate of the gastronomy technology course, and its use in gastronomic work in the food service. So, in this study here, we are going to study creativity in gastronomy from the intrinsic factors, from the analysis of the extrinsic factors of the professionals who graduated from the technology courses in gastronomy, and the extrinsic factors from the work environment, which will be, in the case of the study, the food services. So we will have this work. It will then allow us to verify, to check, right, the perception of professionals regarding their creative skills, identify how the work environment acts as a stimulus for creativity, and analyze the relationships between an individual's creativity and its use in gastronomic work in food services. In this work, in this presentation, we will focus on the analysis of these relationships between the individual's creativity and its use in gastronomic work in food services. For this, in this study, we developed a structured questionnaire, which was developed and validated by the authors. We conducted collections with these gastronomy professionals. Statistical analysis and quantitative analysis were performed. Our initial sample was with 113 graduates from the courses and alumni from the technology courses. In gastronomy, we conducted a pretest with 10 and 3 were excluded. Our final sample was 100 professionals who graduated from the technology course in gastronomy. And 90% of these professionals then are from the metropolitan region of Porto Alegre in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. So for the calculations and evaluation of the results, Cronbach's alpha, factor analysis, Spearman's correlations, and the calculation of the mean of the factors were used as results and discussions. Here, we have then, in this first result of this data collection by these graduates, right? We divided it into two categories: individual creativity and creativity in the work environment. So after the factorial evaluation of Cronbach's alpha in the pretest, we then had a good intensity of association, both in the first category and in the second, which was in fact an excellent association, as Cronbach's alpha was above 0.9. In the test conducted in the individual creativity category, we had a very good association with 0.88. And in workplace creativity, we had an excellent association from Cronbach's alpha 0.95. So from these results, what did we do? In the individual creativity category, we had these 4 factors because after excluding 4 variables from this Cronbach's alpha analysis, we had these 4 factors, which are A, relevant creative processes, B, intellectual ability,
C, intrinsic motivation, and D, culture and knowledge.
And these factors, if we group them, we will then have here the componential model of creativity by Amabile. So we combined there for master skills, factor B, and factor D, factor A, which was relevant creative processes, and factor C, intrinsic motivation. In the case of creativity in the workplace, we had an exclusion of a variable, and we also divided into 4 variables, 4 factors: the E, organizational support; the F, physical structure; the G, daily gastronomy process; and the H, daily gastronomy product, which we also had as a grouping the componential model of Amabile's creativity. Here we then had factor F, factor E, factor G, and factor H. So as resources, we had physical structure, as techniques, organizational support, and as motivation, this daily life of gastronomy, both in process and in product. Here we have this Spearman correlation that was done. So we did all this validation, and now to correlate all these factors of the categories, we used Spearman's correlation, which we have there both the categories of the individual and regarding the categories of the work environment here, which are repeated above. So we can see in bold there the existing Spearman correlations. Of the 28 possible correlations, we had 24 Spearman coefficients that were positive and significant. So we had a correlation between the factors of these categories. This is very important. If we bring here an excerpt, right? If we bring here the correlation between the factors of the creativity category in the individual, we saw that what had the highest result was relevant creative processes with intrinsic motivation. And according to the authors Hill and Amabile, high levels of intrinsic motivation help people take more risks, enabling new creative strategies. In the category of workplace creativity, the correlations with the highest values, the highest Spearman coefficients, were organizational support with physical structure. And what do we have? As we improve the physical structure and equipment, we have greater support for organizational culture. This will improve our creativity in the workplace. Our study here, what did it bring? It brought this model by Amabile, which related what? We have there first, right? That we saw that the componential model of creativity for our study is for the creativity of the environment, and second, for the creativity of the individual, and second, for the work environment. And here we have that these two are a correlation. Here we brought this model from the author as a connection, an intersection between these two. However, our study showed us a new model that had not been researched yet, which are the correlations between the factors. So, as I enhance my relevant creative process, I will have an increase in the other factors. So, relevant creative processes are related to intellectual ability, culture and knowledge, intrinsic motivation, which are also related to each other, and these can also be related to everyday gastronomy, processes, everyday gastronomy products, organizational culture, and physical structure. So it's a new model that we brought. So what did this enable us to do? It enabled us to have the cyclical model because it correlates. So as I increase each factor, I will increase the other, and I will create more and more creative products and services in gastronomy. So This is the circular model, the cyclical model that we had as a result of this work. So creativity in gastronomy is a cyclical relationship between the factors of individual creativity and the work environment, the food services. As final considerations, then, creativity in gastronomy, we proved in our study that it is indeed a systemic analysis, that we have to analyze the intrinsic and extrinsic factors. This aligned with various reference authors in the field, such as Stammer, Amabile, Alencar, Simon, Strauer, Hennessy, and we also approached Amabile's componential model of creativity, both for individual creativity and for organizations. And with our study, we brought this new analysis of creativity in gastronomic activities as a cyclical relationship between the individual's creativity factors, the professional technologist in gastronomy, and the creativity factors of the work environment in which they are inserted, in this case, food services. So this structured questionnaire that we developed is the initial model to indeed study this relationship between individual creativity, the work environment, and how this is presented in gastronomic activities. And this questionnaire can also be applied to other professional areas as long as it is adapted to each specific subject. Thank you very much for your attention. I am Paula Tarrasconi, and I leave my contact information here. And I would like to inform you that this video was recorded in Portuguese with the help of artificial intelligence for translation into English. Thank you.